I'm not sure how well it's doing at the moment.
But up till that time, there were a lot of apartment complexes, but in terms of people moving and buying homes back in the downtown area, it still wasn't happening. In 1993, the Neighborhood Association held the first affordable housing Homerama. I don't know if y'all heard of the Homeramas that they usually do in the, richer areas of town.
What's going on right now?
Yeah, in the richer areas of town where they build these big houses, they decorate them, and then people come in and look at them and buy them. Well, the Neighborhood Association did the first affordable housing Homerama down in the block of Marshall, Wenzel, and Muhammad Ali. How many houses? 13?
13 total, 11 new houses and 2 rehabs.
Within the 2 weeks that they did,
nobody was displaced.
During the 2 weeks that Homerama went on, all 13 houses sold. And that was really the beginning. The city at that point wouldn't even help us with the Homerama. The mayor refused to, nobody was giving us any assistance. But we were able to go ahead and do it with a lot of hard work. Of course, the mayor cut the ribbon.
Yeah, who cut the ribbon?
And claims a lot of it. But anyway, they were saying nobody's going to move back downtown. But all 13 houses were sold.
When was that?
1993. It's actually my husband and I's first date. He took me to see the houses at Homerama. So it was March of 1993.
Well, that's networking.
Yeah. But now the Neighborhood Association has worked and has continued. I think that we have helped develop 50 to 60 single-family homes in the neighborhood. And we're currently working with River City Housing to do some more of that on Madison Street. And as you know, Clarksdale was torn down a couple of years ago, and Liberty Green development is occurring, and lots of other condo projects in the neighborhood. So the neighborhood is, again, being revitalized.
One other editorial comment. One reason we concentrated on single-family homes was because we had already worked on multifamily homes. It's not a question of not wanting multifamily or renters or anything like that.
And I will say, too, I was going to say this later, that Phoenix Hill neighborhood, a couple of kind of demographic things, is one of the 2 neighborhoods in the city that's actually integrated racially, Old Louisville and Phoenix Hill in terms of statistics. It's also, in the 2000 census, was the poorest neighborhood in the city. A lot of people think West End or think other areas, but Phoenix Hill was. And it had the lowest home ownership, which was 7% home ownership in the Phoenix Hill neighborhood. And again, which is why the Neighborhood Association was pushing for single-family homeowners, just to try to bring the balance back up again. Just to kind of tell you briefly about the current neighborhood work, again, we're working on housing development issues and other development issues, working on historic preservation, trying to work on this conservation district, which is what Nashville has. We're kind of modeling after that. Always working on sidewalk stuff, trying to get more businesses and residents involved in the neighborhood. We hold an annual egg hunt. We hold an annual music fest, which we'll talk about more later. We have a farmer's market, and in your package there's every Tuesday right down here, 829 East Market Street. If you haven't come, please do. We have a festival this coming Tuesday. So Bruce at the Mine Cafe is going to be doing cooking demonstrations. Heidi Howe will be doing the music. And lots of great food. We've been working on trying to save a neighborhood pool, which we're still struggling with. Louisville Park, which is the park, again, in this triangle area, developing a master plan. And there's one other park, our community park here in Clarksdale was taken, as well as some other parks in the past. So the neighborhood developed, again, without the city's help, a park at New Directions Housing Corporation called Lucille Grant Park. If y'all have ever been by 1000 East Liberty Street, that little park there. So working on improvements there. Just to throw out a few other things, again, the neighborhood's known a lot for Phoenix Hill Tavern and that Baxter Avenue Entertainment District. Known for the part of the medical district is in our neighborhood as well. The Arts District, the Trolley Hop, Clarksdale, now Liberty Green. And I think the main thing that the neighborhood is known for is the diversity of the people, the diversity of businesses and industries and housing and all of that. The landmarks that I've mentioned, again, we talked about the Cloister, which was originally the Ursuline Convent, then it was a shopping complex, and then it was the Louisville School of Art for a while. There was also another little art colony over on Chestnut Street years ago. I can't think of the name.
There was 3 or 4 artists were living on East Chestnut. It was just kind of...
So that's just kind of a, hopefully not too long, overview of the neighborhood and some historical stuff. Are there any questions that you all have? I realized in going through some of this that a lot of the historical stuff was up in here, and I don't have a whole lot of information about the history along Market Street, besides just kind of being the business. So that's something
my
that's
aunt and uncle
probably
lived in the Paul Paletti building when they first got married. Other than that, I don't know. I mean, you know, just growing up in the area, I mean, Haller's Pet Store was along Market Street. I mean, it was shopping. You know, you didn't have to go out to St. Matthews. You came here if you lived in this general area or in the eastern part of this old city.
So hopefully that kind of gives
The
you
Haymarket, wasn't
The
that
Haymarket.
big
Haymarket.
important?
it's a little bit out of the scope, but yeah, it was a huge part of what helped make this neighborhood. And with the stockyards, again, not directly in our neighborhood, but the whole agriculture, Hunt Tractor and
The wide streets from the markets that were, you know, the carts up the middle. There was, at least historically, there was electric cars up and down the middle of Broadway. There are some photos, I know at least the Housing Authority has, of that area.
so hopefully some of the articles too, because they're pretty interesting to read.
So there's been public transportation, I mean, just in terms of those kind of connections. We've been trying to work with them with bus stops and things like that as well, but can only do so much.
So are you saying that Main Street actually kind of like separates Butchertown from?
Yeah, more or less, yeah.
I work at Campbell and Main.
Across the
Cole.
across the
so
school.
That would be Butchertown.
Butchertown, yeah. I mean, you know, as strict as any of those kinds of things are, I mean, you know, I'd say in the late 70s, early 80s, which is, you know, also historically not too far off the Vietnam War, just this connection, that area used to be, we kind of jokingly referred to as the DMZ, which in Vietnam terms was the demilitarized zone, because, you know, both Butchertown and Phoenix Hill were kind of claiming it. And basically what that led to was just starting to work together, and Butchertown was, they got more involved with housing development, and they ended up having like renting houses and stuff, and just kind of took them away from that commercial area for a while. But